What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Commentary Position YouTube channel. As always, my name is PTP Percy, whichever you prefer. I am back for today's video. I wasn't here Monday. I apologize, but we are back now. And the man who held the fort down in my absence, we got G. How we doing?
I'm good, man. I held it down for you.
Yeah, yeah, held it
You didn't
down.
miss. You didn't miss a ton. Honestly, you didn't miss a ton. I know you
Yeah,
probably watched, but
yeah,
you didn't miss a ton. Other
yeah.
than
Commercial fest and Braun.
a lot of commercials. Once, I mean, I don't mind the fact that it was one story, like kind of like they played one story throughout the show, which isn't a bad thing. But
Yeah.
like, there wasn't much else of substance other than Stephanie. Sorry.
Ah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything else. I'm not going into detail. Just saying other than like because Julia and Roxanne got involved, and
Yeah.
it seems like they're officially called up. So like, okay, when now it's like when's Stephanie coming?
Yeah, a lot of story
Pause.
development there to see
Pause. But yeah.
yeah, no Diddy, no Diddy. Uh but then again, I mean it's Stephanie, so I mean actually no
But
respectfully,
yeah,
like
held it down. Decent night. Decent
yeah,
views. Yeah,
yeah.
it was fine.
Yeah. And if you guys haven't already, it is still on the channel, in our live section, I believe. Um
Yep.
help us get that to 1,000. Just for the love of the game, because it's halfway there. It's
Yeah.
at like 908. So I mean,
Yeah.
bump it up, bump
For
us
real.
up, bump us up. Friday back to the regular scheduled programming, but today is a video idea that I kind of had in my mind for a while on the back burner. But frankly, shout out to Will. If you've been to like the live streams, you know who Will is in the chat. He has his own channel as well. Um, he kind of asked a question in the chat, which reminded me of the video idea, which is just to kind of, not that most of you guys need any, because I'm pretty sure most of you guys know us outside of this. But for those who don't, we kind of just want to give you guys a little bit, information, a brief rundown of, who you're watching, what our interests are. We're vastly different as far as, like, obviously, probably visually, you know, uh, age range and the wrestling that he's seen compared to what I've seen. So stuff like this
Fair.
is, you know, gives you guys more insight to just how much we know on wrestling as a whole. So should be interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah. Give everybody a little bit of shows the differences, but how we work together, how much we actually know. So, to the people who will, who watch us now, who maybe watch us a little, who will watch us later, give us a little more credibility,
Yeah, yeah,
personality to cling to.
yeah. I don't know why I was gonna say spice of life. I don't know who's saying that is, but that just came to my mind. A little bit of spice of life or whatever, or facts of life, if you will.
Yeah, I was going to say before we get into it. Fun fact: I actually did go to a wrestling school before, you know,
Wow,
all the
I did
other
not know
shit that I
that.
was done. I went for 2 days.
Ah, wait, why did it end up? Just other things came up, or
And it hurt like a motherfucker. And I was just like, no, I'm not gonna do it.
the bumps were too much.
It honestly, it's not it's no joke. Like I'm not a large man now. I'm not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not like I'm not tiny,
Small,
but
yeah,
I wasn't a large kid then either. I eventually got bigger, obviously, you know, but I wasn't very low. And obviously, things were different in like 1994 early 1995 than they are now 30 years later. Yeah, I know I'm showing age. Um, but yeah, they were having like a little wrestling school in Port St. Lucie down here in Florida. Some of you might know where that is. Um, where you could go and try. You could try out, and it was like $20,
yeah.
and
Way cheaper than it
you
is
know
now. By the way, it's like a
I
thousand
I
dollars
went for
now.
and it was like, yeah, it was basically it was $20 for a week, and you could come every day, try to get some time in, learn basic stuff. I got in there for 2 days, did a few bumps, learned a few grapples, and I was so not no joke. It's no joke. I hurt so bad because I just wasn't very big either. I mean, honestly, I probably weighed maybe 115 pounds, maybe. Like I just out of high
Damn.
school. Yeah,
That's like Colin Delaney weight.
I mean, other than certain things, like I just had a hard time with metabolism. Like I would, yeah, like fresh out of high school, I was like 115 pounds, maybe. I eventually gained a lot of weight, obviously, but yeah, so that was, I'm sure, was a factor. But I went like it just hurt too damn much. Like
Yeah.
after 2 days, like I couldn't get out of bed. I'm just like, I love this stuff, but like I can't do it.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, because it was just too damn painful.
Hmm. Funnily
And
enough, I
I
still
really
want to
didn't.
go back for that, or I want to do it because at one point, like I randomly wanted to be a manager as a kid, or growing up, I wanted to be like a commentator or a manager, and like
Mhm.
at least like like the Truth Martini like wrestling school more or less, like that's in Michigan more so. I think it's like rural Michigan or something like that.
Yeah,
There's like at some point I feel like I want to like go and actually like learn how to be like a manager and like actually I don't know how far I take it, but I kind of still want to do that at some point. Which is kind of interesting that you brought up like a 2 day wrestling school stint.
yeah. I mean, I honestly, it's funny. Like when I was married, and before divorce broke me financially.
Right.
It's odd that like getting involved in wrestling, or like you know maybe like in an indie like in an indie thing, in an indie capacity, wasn't really something I ever thought of as like an investment thing. And I'm surprised, given my like hardcore wrestling fandom.
Right.
It's something I never thought of. But now that we're really like in this space, I wouldn't call us wrestling journalists because that's not fair.
All right.
But I guess to a certain degree, like the IWC, like we're part of that now, and we commentate, and we have opinions, and
Yeah,
you
in
know
some form or fashion.
news, and we know our stuff or whatever it is. So I guess to a like minimal degree, I guess you could say we're kind of journalists now.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something like now that's more in the foreground in my mind, that like now that you've brought that up, like because I know there are, like I said, I know a particular person in the IWC who's you know quite popular and does very well, and is like a part, an investor in an indie wrestling company, and you know does like color commentary or play by play or whatever it is for
Yeah.
it. And that's something that, like, if we got to that point,
And that would
if
be
we get to the
fun.
point where we could certainly, that is certainly something that could be on the table.
Yeah.
And then you could kind of like, that could be a way for you to sort of like,
Get the foot in the
get
door.
get your foot in on that. Sure,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and comment down below, like if you think we'd be good managers or not. I feel like that would be like that would be like a like I ain't gonna lie, just watching wrestling for as long as like I feel like collectively, there's like things managerial wise that I'm like, damn, like I've seen some
I
good
don't,
managers and I've seen some bad ones.
I
So
don't know if I don't honestly, I don't know if I would do that part of it.
oh, like like ringside manager and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do. I don't know if I would be like. It's not that I don't have personality, because I do, but I don't know, like being like in that sort of role would probably best fit me. Like
Yeah,
maybe, in a hypothetical situation, like if we got involved in an indie fed, or started one, or got invested in one that could grow a little bit and just sort of be like a little. small little
For the love of the
thing, but
game.
still be profitable. I think I would be more inclined to think that I would be better suited backstage,
Ah, like
like writer,
little
producer,
Bruce
like
Pritchard vibes.
creative, like booker, like booking team kind of thing. I think that might be more my thing.
Yeah.
'Cause you know how I can come up with everything, and sometimes I can predict shit that's gonna happen. Although I know there's a lot of other people who do. I'm not saying I'm the only one who predicts things that correctly, but I think that seems more where my mind is at, where my mentality is, and I think that might be a better role for me. Is like booking, like writing, being able in that creative process,
Yeah.
and then as opposed to not that I wouldn't ever sit at the tape at the desk and do color or play by play. I'm not saying that's out of the picture or something that I wouldn't do, but I think if it was something that was seen live or
Or
local
like
TV or
taped.
something like that, like on air personality, I don't see me like that at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's something
Maybe
I
when
feel
I
like
was
that's something I
younger,
really wanted to do. Like I feel like I'd thrive in it for some weird reason.
I don't see why not. But if that's something we can get involved with in the future, I think we certainly could, and I wouldn't have any issue with that, and I would, but I think I would be more suited to the creative part, like
Yeah.
storyline, book, like a booking,
Yeah. The
something along
planning.
those lines.
Yeah. That'd be
Financial,
interesting.
because of school, like financial stuff,
I like
would probably be
budgeting, getting them paid.
sure that yeah, like behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, basically, probably.
All
I'd
right.
certainly try my hand. I'd try my hand behind the desk.
Oh, like would you like color or like play by play?
Um, I don't know, because honestly, I think if you and I were an actual team on doing wrestling, I think given the way we are, I think I'd probably be better as the color guy than,
The play
and
by
you
play.
probably better. Probably. It's not that I don't know anything. It's not that I don't know it. I just think my personality might suit better as the straight man color commentator as opposed to you being the play by play.
Tight shit. I feel like play by
I
play
think
could be good because like I don't know. I feel like I do have cold tendencies. like if someone just books something that doesn't tell me anything, and I just gotta I just had to have like an emotion in the moment. It might actually hit. So like I can
that
see
would be
that.
strange. That would be strange because I really don't know. If you look back on pairings for whatever company you might think of, WWF before it was WWE, all through the years, AEW, NWA, WCW, whatever, ECW, all those things.
Yeah.
Thinking of trying to think of a comparable duo to compare ourselves to, I really couldn't, personality wise. But like I said, I think I'd probably be, if I was playing off of you specifically, I think I'd probably be better at color commentary than play by play.
Huh.
You might think differently, but I think, because I think I'm more like the straight man, like the more serious. So I think maybe color might be my better position if we were paired up, and
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. Plus I got plus I
Not
just
that I
remember
would,
random shit. So
not that I wouldn't try it, but
yeah.
I would certainly try both. I just think maybe, just given my personality in general, I think probably color commentary is probably more my suit
Yeah.
than play by play. You're probably more. I would think you're more play by play.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I mean, I guess if we were paired with somebody else, it might be different.
Oh, at that
And
point,
I'm
then
not.
it's like, shoot, that could be like Kind of like WrestleMania was, like, two colors and you got like one play-by-play in the middle or something like that.
Could be. That's certainly possible. I mean, maybe with you know that could be something we could try to do. Maybe not so much for. Well, I mean, maybe it's something we could do live at some point, but maybe something we could try to do like off air, where we like try to be the team and see you know how we do with it.
Yeah, something to try. Something to try.
See if we could like it would probably help things in the future if you know because in that way when we do live streams we can literally like have the more defined role better on camera.
Yeah.
Like when we're doing like live reaction whatever it is, like we can actually do more like color commentary because more color commentary than obviously the name of the channel, but more play by play. But whichever one of us seems, given our vibe and given how we flow. I mean, it's not like we had no flow before we started this because we know each other, but the way we flow now, like maybe like if it comes to that, you might be better. So we could still play. We could play that role during live streams, you know, in the future. And I'm not saying the distant future, but like in the future, where it's like, okay, I do more of like a color commentary type of reaction because that seems more my thing. I did a little bit more. I did a little bit Monday of like throwing in some more because I was by myself. I was doing a little bit of like play by play where I was like actually like moves instead of just like reacting. I was doing a little bit of moves too during the not a lot of wrestling that was going on, but like maybe that might be more you.
Yeah.
Looking back on our live streams, we really hit it hard like WrestleMania wise. It kind of seemed like I was doing more of a more of a color commentary, and you were doing more of like play by play, and like watching you do stand and deliver, like you were trying to do a little bit of a mix of both, but you were doing like kind of play by play, like you were conscious, like making more of a conscious effort to like do a little more some some play by play.
Yeah. A little more informative for new
Yes,
people.
yeah. So if
Yeah.
they weren't watching the show and they were watching us, they'd have more of an you know what I mean? They'd have more of an idea of what was actually happening instead of just reacting to it. There was more, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just a question of like who's better at what. I would just like I said, I think based on kind of how we vibe and how we flow, I think I would probably be better color commentary and you'd be play by play in any scenario. That's just what I think right this second.
Yeah.
So
Definitely something to look into more or less for sure.
sure, sure.
I'm not gonna lie though, even though we are like 18 minutes in, because I'm not gonna lie, that this is how quickly we get to rolling. I'm pretty sure you guys kind of could notice that, at least realistically. Before we get into like
Like I
the
said, that's how we flow. Like
yeah,
the conversations flow. So
yeah,
like I said, even with our past stuff, like before we were on camera and we were just doing like audio reviews, expecting an hour and a half review ended up being 3 hours because just the conversation flowed. We
yeah,
got into stuff, and that's just kind of how it works sometimes.
yeah. If you're liking how far we've gotten into this conversation so far, before we really get into the hey, in other words, before we get to the meat, you feel me? Make sure to
And we're
like,
still
yeah,
we're still doing we're hey what was intended. We're still doing what was intended. There's still
yeah, we're still
people
on
are still
track
learning.
here. Yeah,
They're learning about us.
yeah, they're getting the info. They're getting the info. Leave a like, comment. Actually, I got comment down below at any point. Hmm. What's a good objective?
What for comments?
Yeah, like hmm.
10.
Well, like
Let's try for 10. Let's
10
try for 10
comments.
likes and comments.
Yeah. Yeah, or
10 likes and
yeah,
comments.
10 combined likes and comments for on this video for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, if you haven't already
Anything we left,
subscribed,
anything we left out, anything of note
yeah,
that sure.
yeah, and also subscribe because we're I think we're 2 off of 300, which is crazy. We're 2 off of 300. Uh,
Yep.
so if you haven't already, share the channel with your friends, your family, your doctor, um, the old man that sits outside your gas station that washes windows with newspaper. There's a lot of people you can share this to. I don't know
Hey,
how he would watch it,
I've done
but
that. Hey, I've done that before. Don't do that. That's not nice.
hey, them guys be cool though. They give a little bit of change. That would.
Especially since to some I'm literally sitting here on camera now wearing a fedora, and to some people I'm old. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Comment Fedora in the chat.
yeah. Hey,
If you made it this far in the video, comment Fedora so that we can know who's really sitting here watching the video.
hey, it's my thing, brother.
Yeah. But I would do a rundown of like what we're doing, kind of. But I mean, obviously, you kind of get the gist of it. You want to tackle it first, and then I'll just go second.
Or we could just bounce back and forth, whichever.
Hey, yeah, but yeah, we'll run the table.
Yeah, we can go back and forth.
Yeah.
Sure, let's go back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anything, let's start with the standards. Name, obviously, I say mine every single show we do. So if you didn't know, then my name is Percy. I know some people got confused during the live streams, like maybe because of like where the labeling is, or just we don't really address each other by name. But yeah, I'm Percy, and G.
My first name is Anthony, but please don't call me that because normally only people who are angry at me call me Anthony. I prefer Tony, although obviously some people call me G, and my friend group calls me Gramps because
Tight shit.
they're all younger than me, and I'm a crotchety quote unquote old man, although I'm not necessarily old
Right.
by old standards, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just by preference though, because I'm not gonna lie. If any of you ever slip up and use the first one, I have no control over what happens after that. So
I'm
just
not going to be upset if anybody just likes the name Anthony because I am half Italian. That's why I have the name. I'm just used to typically like my mom, my grandmother, God rest her soul, my ex-wife. Nothing. I'm not gonna say anything.
yeah,
But like typically like the women in my life like being angry at me is usually when obviously I
yeah,
signed that, but typically I'm used to people being saying it my first name in a you know
negative sense.
not loving way. But if somebody prefers Anthony to Tony and they just want to call me that, obviously I will not take offense to it, and I
Yeah,
will respond to you in kind. It's fine. It's just not the preference.
yeah. I kind of get the same thing. Most people barely even call me by my first name anyway. It's like it's kind of weird when I hear people like obviously like when you guys do it, I don't really like think much of it because I mean it's more or less refreshing because I've never really been called my first name outside of like school, like teachers. Like everybody else finds a nickname for me because they don't really use my name as much. So
Except for
shout out,
Terry.
yeah, yeah. Hey, shout out to Terry. Shout out Terry.
Yeah, that's all she calls you, honestly.
Pretty much. I mean, because I do give you guys the option, like whichever one you want. Like it could be PTP, it could be Percy P. Um, there's probably other ones that I don't remember that I've gotten, but whichever one works for you guys. I mean, I'm good with
Did
whatever.
you was at some point somewhere did you have like P dot on as like a nickname somewhere on something?
Surprisingly, no.
No.
Nah. I think it's mainly just been. It's always just been like those three letters since I was like 12. That was like my first gamer tag on like PSN. But I think
Well, I get that. I was. You know what? That's a good question to ask because I've never asked the question in all the years I've known you.
uh-huh.
Surprisingly, it's been a lot of years. It's been what, like 7 years? Were you like 19 when we met? Something like that?
Oh yeah, it's probably damn near 7.
I know what the PT stands for, but what's the other P? I don't think you ever said.
Oh, fun
Is it
fact
like
actually.
plays? Is it like plays because you're streaming or?
Just to kind of give like revisionist history to it. It just goes to like even like later on, like you'll kind of realize that like my wrestling taste is like very, very like I'm not like normal fans as far as like there's certain characters that you would probably look at and be like, oh, like this guy was garbage, but like he might be my favorite. I'm just letting you guys know right now is hints to like this story. Um, so like I said, it's like around 2013, 2014, I think, maybe 2013. Um, remember the Titus O'Neil, Darren Young tag team?
Yes,
So like at that time, they were like pretty over, or at least at this point, like they had the little dance, millions of dollars, you know the whole shtick,
they were over
and to an extent,
mostly.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think they were heels at this time, but this might be before Abraham Washington got canned because of the Kobe joke, which was
Oh
which was
yeah,
which was
yeah.
crazy. Like
Mm.
Abraham was wild, but I was thinking of gamer tags, and I was like, okay, what can I put that relates to what I care about, but also fits in the box? So I used PTP as the abbreviation for primetime players, or primetime players, since it would be in
Okay,
singular, and then the
okay.
99 is from age, meaning when I was born. So
Well, yeah, I got that part. I got, but like,
yeah,
but the PT is also, you know, your name,
yeah.
your
Initially, it
initials.
could be, yeah,
That's what I thought. It was like your name, but what was the other P? That's what I was. That's
yeah,
what I thought.
yeah. See, in general, it could low key fit two different meanings. Like it could be like like me as a person like playing games,
It's
or
sort of
like
like a. It's sort of like a CM Punk thing. Like, what does the CM stand for? There could be like 100 things people can think of.
yeah, like like I guess it's like chick magnet, but I mean you could probably fill in the blank and like make different interpretations of what it could mean to them. So, but yeah, just a little insight on that for those that
Well,
probably
that's something. That's something I didn't. That's something I always wondered. Never knew.
yeah,
Never thought. But okay,
yeah,
the primetime players. Yeah.
yeah. That's a little bit of a that kind of like also before I was like that just goes back to I guess like really my like not like prime years ironically, but like my memory kind of mainly stems from like that 2010, not even 2010, maybe like 2008 and beyond, like as far as like when it really started to stick. So like around 2013, 2014, that's when like the niche stuff would kind of come out, because now if we talk about the primetime players, it's like, oh my god, like that's like an antique memory for most
It's like a
people.
deep cut. That's like a deep cut. Like,
Yeah, like
oh, yeah,
like who was
prime
rocking
time
with the
player.
primetime players back in 2013? It's like it's one of those random things. So
I didn't even remember, to be honest with
yeah.
you. So
Yeah.
until you brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right. So I guess age, obviously, to kind of coincide. I mean, if you do the math of it, 99. I am 25. Personally, I'm 25
Until
until October. So until the 25th, I'll be 25.
okay, I am 48. I will be. Believe it or not, I know. Shocks some people. I don't look it. The fedora might give some of the oldness away, but
Yeah.
and obviously, I have a youthful spirit. I'm not all saggy and wrinkly. I don't care about the jokes in private that people make, but I am actually 48. I will be 48 at the end of next month, or 49. I mean, sorry. Woo, the
Yeah.
day. I will be 49 next month.
Yeah. And like we said, visually, you wouldn't really know he was pushing 50 just based off like energy
You
aspect and
don't,
everything.
you
So
don't have to say that.
yeah.
That sounds. I feel like
That
because a
sounds
lot of people,
crazy.
the vast majority of people think I'm in my 30s. And until I'm gonna ride that one until the wheels fall off, if I
Yeah.
can. You know, the low take care of myself. You know,
Facts.
exercise, lotion on the skin. People, lotion works.
Yeah.
Skincare works. It's not like an unmanly thing to use lotion, but like take care of your skin.
Yeah.
Slow down the aging process because, like I said, most people think I'm in my 30s, not pushing 50, as you said. Because
That sounds crazy.
I really don't like to think about the fact that next year I will turn 50.
Yeah.
That is a very weird prospect because I can literally remember being like 3
Oh, trust me, but because shoot,
and
there's somebody
vivid
that still think I
memories.
look like I'm like a teenager basically, and I have to think about the
Yeah,
fact that I'm halfway to 30.
I have vivid memories of being a teenager and vivid memories of teenage experiences and like feeling, or even things in my 20s that feel like they happened yesterday. And then I sit back and think and go, oh my God, next year I'm going to be fucking 50. I don't, thank God I don't look it or feel it, but my God, I can't believe next year I'm going to be fucking 50.
Yeah.
And my kid is old. My kid is older than
Yeah. What's about like 2 years or a year? I think.
me. No, his birthday is the same as mine. He'll be 27.
Ah, okay. But, yeah. So, I think somebody pointed out during like one of the streams too, as far as just the dynamic, more or less. It kind of just puts into perspective that like wrestling can just wrestling can bring together multiple generations. You know,
Of course.
multiple levels. So don't let
Friends,
that.
dads, and kids. Yeah,
Yeah,
ever sure,
like just
sure.
don't let that. Because there's some people I know that like shoe. I forgot who. I think I met people when I was like 12 that I still know to this day through just the games and the communities that it's been forged into. So it's a very special avenue, special world, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I remember being very little and watching before WWF. I think it might have still been WWF at the time.
Oh, the Worldwide
Uh,
Wrestling Federation.
yeah, before Vince Jr. took over
Right.
for real. Before like Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan. Okay, we're going back that far, but
Yeah.
like watching that and watching like because my dad was more NWA, which became WCW. Like he was more that
Yeah.
Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat before he was WWF. Stuff like the Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, the Legion, the Road Warriors. You know, Nikita Koloff. You know, very
Baron
young
von
Sting,
Raschke.
very young Sting, and sure the tail end of Bruno, that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
remember he was born to that, so I was like watching that with him as a kid, and it was just it fascinated me. And honestly, I probably honestly was probably out of high school before I like knew that it wasn't like that. Things were scripted.
Yeah.
Obviously, the stuff in the ring is choreographed, but and but the moves are real. The pain is real. I know this, but knowing that like all of those things, I think I was honestly probably out of high school before it was like it really hit me that okay, wrestling is what
Yeah.
it is. But
Yeah.
watching all that old stuff, yeah, I remember with my dad, and then WWF. So I kind of started leaning more towards WWF with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, and then the Ultimate Warrior and the Hart Foundation and
All
Brutus
right.
Beefcake. I love. Hey man, I love Brutus Beefcake back in the day, way back when I was
Bro,
like
bro,
early
bro had
teen.
them big ass clippers.
I love Brutus Beefcake. Like we're talking like baby Shawn Michaels era.
I got bro was cooking. Bro was cooking. But I think when he was like not the Rockers, but was it the Rockers? Like the
What?
original tag, what like the original tag team with him and Jannetty? I think they were the Rockers, right? Or was it like a different tag team?
Well, they were Rockers.
Okay, yeah,
I think there was. I think originally, like very briefly, they were the something Rockers, but they were the yeah.
yeah.
But that was like baby Shawn Michaels. I think shoot, Shawn Michaels might have been younger than you,
Oh, when he started. Oh, yeah, he started at like 16, I think, 16, 17.
but like when the Rockers started to hit, I think Shawn Michaels was probably. Oh boy, probably. I would guess. I don't know Shawn Michaels' age exactly at the moment. I'd have to look it up, but he was probably younger than you. He was probably 23, 24.
Yeah,
It was
I
like,
to
yeah, it was like,
assume.
yeah, it was baby Michaels. I remember.
Yeah, but because
And
right
then
now he's
I was hooked.
59. Dang, he's 59.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's insane.
But
He doesn't look 59. At least most
but
of the
like
time.
I remember like um, Flair and Ricky Steamboat in 1989. That some people would still argue to this day is like the best wrestling match ever.
Right.
Um, I remember like WrestleMania 3, watching WrestleMania 3, and Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant, like watching that live. I know it shows my age, but yeah, formative memories. Ric Flair all over the place, Dusty Rhodes, the Arn and Ole Anderson, the Four Horsemen. I mean, the heyday, the Four Horsemen, Vader. It was
Them
crazy,
guys.
man. JYD.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
Junkyard. Yeah.
I mean, like Rocky Johnson. I remember. Shoot, I remember watching Ron Simmons,
Oh, that was
like
like
the
yeah,
first ever
before the
African
nation,
American world champion. I remember watching that happen.
and that was historical back then. Like for
Yeah,
multiple
it sure
reasons.
was. Sure was. Yeah. And I've just been a wrestling sponge ever since. Like, it's crazy. Watching all of that stuff, even into WCW, watching that before the Monday Night Wars, watching like the WWF down period before the Attitude era started, and before the NWO, and yeah, man, just
Tight
taking it
shit,
in like a sponge, just
man.
eating it up. Before ECW was a thing. Although before ECW like really was a thing, I do remember seeing a little bit of it before they were
Hmm.
like a real deal. Because I think ECW started in like what, like '93.
I think they used to be because I remember they were like pure wrestling at first before they really started like trying to like
Yeah,
make the transition.
yeah, but yeah, like catching glimpses of it. I think '93. I think Heyman started in like '93, something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
yeah,
and I've just been hooked ever since, big
yeah.
time.
At least for this one, I mean, I'm gonna skip one because I mean, obviously, I mean, like that's like don't want to give away too much, but I mean, obviously we already said like like certain states, so realistically, I mean, that's where you can probably say like that's where we're from primarily. I kind of thought about it, I'm like the city thing, kind of 50-50.
I've just like I live in Southern Florida at the moment.
Yeah, yeah,
Not forever. I will. Yeah. When the time is right, I am bouncing from Florida. I don't want to live here anymore. I can't
Yeah.
take the too many memories, too much time here.
Too much going on.
Hurricanes, hurricanes, heat. I'm a funny. I was born here, so I should be used to it. But I think I'm just like a lizard person because I'm just a cold blooded creature. Like I'm that dude. I'm that dude that's been in like extreme cold and colder climates, walking around in shorts, like in like 2 degrees and snow and rain and like mud and shit. I literally was walking around. I had, don't get me wrong, I had like 5 layers on the top and like my head covered and all that. But I have shorts and boots. Like I'm just a lizard, I guess. I just want
Yeah.
I want to be someplace where there's like an actual winter and not someplace that like maybe gets below 50 degrees like 3 days a year.
The occasional cool temp.
And forget snow.
Yeah.
Barring an ice age, ain't gonna be no snow down here.
Man,
So,
wherever it does, that shit gonna be melted by the time the morning comes up. By the time
well,
morning
I mean,
arrives, that snow is gone.
where I lived, when I was born, it was like literally, it was the same neighborhood. The house I was born in and the house I grew up in were like literally in the same neighborhood down the street from each other. And technically, before that, I think I was like 3, and it did snow.
Hmm.
It was pretty much done, but it was pretty much it was like flakes, and it was pretty much gone before it hit the ground. But it actually did snow. Yeah,
Oh wow.
and it's not that far from where I am now. But yeah, it did actually happen. So I don't remember seeing it. I was 3, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to be somewhere cold. I just want to be somewhere cooler that isn't like, if it's in the summer and it's 80 degrees outside, the humidity isn't the same, and like your skin's melting off your body when you go outside. I don't want that anymore. I want to live somewhere that's like a more. I understand like the climate thing and whatever, but like
Other things of that
I
nature.
want, I want to be somewhere where it's like it's not. It can be 80 degrees in the summer and it's not so hot that like my skin's gonna melt off,
Yeah.
and somewhere with an actual winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but right now, yes, southern Florida,
Yeah.
southern half, southern half, southern half of Florida. Because technically, the southern South Florida is like Miami towards the Keys. Like I ain't there.
Yeah.
No, but southern half.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. I can't really even pinpoint where like I mean, obviously I guess like my area is like I'm like way more eastern. Like probably like maybe yeah, probably like the eastern part of Michigan more or less. I'm like basically like kinda in like the heart of everything. Like bunch of like outways, entry points, whatever. Not really rural, but outside of the city essentially. So snow and everything like that. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I hate the snow up here though. That's the only real gripe that I have. Cause
I would not. I would trade with you in a heartbeat.
yeah, it's like cause I got like just seeing snow. I mean, outside of the fact that like when I was younger, like we had like hella snow days. Cause like when I tell you the snow would fall, like it would be sometimes lined up outside like the side doors of like how much snow would like drop before like someone would go to bed or even before they would wake up. But yeah, other than that, I mean, yeah. A lot of people don't really like have favorable ideas of what Michigan is, but I mean, Michigan's not that bad.
No,
Most people that live here will probably tell you this is not that bad.
it's not. And all the people were like, "Oh, Detroit is terrible. Detroit's like this." No, no, it's not. Actually, go. I'm sure there might be a part of Detroit that might fit the stigma of what people think, but it's not like that.
Yeah, like
Detroit,
every place has like their bad areas that like obviously people don't want to go. But to think that the
well,
whole
sure,
area is like that, it's crazy.
but the stigma like Detroit is like fucking. It's like Mad Max. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it's
people
like
think it's
I
Borderlands up
live in
here.
a small little city where like there's you know you walk out your door and like there's gonna be an army of like bandits outside your door. I mean, come on, that's a farce.
Yeah, some of it could be like fictional, like most things, but fictitious stories. But yeah, overall, I mean, I like it here. So
Well,
for
I
the
do
most
hope
part,
you
it is.
experience. Well, I do hope you experience somewhere else at some point. Sure.
Yeah, eventually, of course. Like the only place I could probably think of like moving to is like Seattle because I like rain for some reason. But
Yeah. Well,
other than that,
you'll get that. You'll get that.
yeah, a lot of like
That's not
outside of that,
bad.
it's like really no other place that I would really even think about. Like obviously, like no other place like Cali or anything like that. Any place is like hotter than like it is any other like climate. I would just never probably want to be there.
So you're not. So I mean, when I talk about like Colorado and shit, you don't feel that.
That's kind of up there with like Seattle in a way. Like at least it would be like they still get snow. They
They're
still
similar.
yeah.
They're similar.
Like any
Not
place that still
god
get like
awful.
all any place that still gets all the seasons would probably be more ideal than like a place that
Yeah.
only gets two
Sure.
minimum.
Yeah.
See what's next. Well, I guess we kind of might have covered it, but at least like to put it in kind of years. Now we kind of answered this doing a live stream, but just to put it in video format. How long have we been wrestling fans? Separately, like personally. I cannot figure a word to
Ooh.
go with that, but
I would say rough guess. From memory, I'm just gonna go say from memory.
right.
Probably 1983.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. 1983.
If I had to guess, or if I had to figure out like based off of like what I remember seeing, because I always try to tie it into like when Christian left the WWE because I remember he was there in like 2006, and I think he left midway or towards the end of '06, and then like 2007, obviously he wasn't there. So I'm trying to
Yeah,
think
I think it
maybe
is.
my memory is like
Yeah, because
2006,
he came back in what
2008.
was it?
I
Was
think it
it
was like, no, it was 2009. 2009 he came back.
2009?
Yeah.
Because I remember when he finally won the world title. I thought that was like 09, 2010, something like that.
Yeah, I think he finally won gold in like at least the ECW championship was like late '09, maybe early 2010. And then of course like the world title I think was like
The
2011 or
world
something like
title,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, if I had to go off memory, because I always kind of say 2004, but I mean it's realistically like if I'm going off of that, because I remember seeing him in TNA when he feuded with Rhino. That was like my vivid first memory of wrestling. So that's like 2006, I would say for me, since I've been watching more or less.
I mean, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
And then of course like I had like the random stints where it's like I mean I've seen AAA when I was like 4 because I was randomly scrolling through channels like Telemundo and stuff like that, and I found
Oh God, yeah.
I scrolled through
Yeah.
Telemundo and found AAA. I remember, like I don't know if people really remember this. It's my show Age too. It's not really that long ago, but I mean it was a crazy time. ESPN used to show old wrestling at like random points of the night. Like they would show AWA, and I remember
Oh
seeing
yeah,
like
they did. Yeah,
yeah,
they
I
did.
remember seeing like Larry Sabisco, Baron von
Oh,
Raschke. There was a couple of like a lot of the guys that I kind of would learn about later in full. But I mean, at that time, Larry Sabisco was like the most hated guy in AWA. So I'm like,
oh, Larry Zabisco is like you know top shelf as far as like heel.
oh yeah, he was easily hateable. Before I was really able to process really like what his like shtick like spiel was, seeing those guys off the rip were like, kind of like my first intros into like, and obviously like me like those are the main ones I remember. The Mexican wrestling was like more or less what stuck with me, which is probably why I like the style I do today. Like the
That makes
Cyberneticos, La
that
Parcas.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Oh God, yeah.
yeah. I gravitate more towards
Laparca,
Lucha Libre than I probably expected
Laparca was
to.
Laparca was criminally underrated.
Man, to be honest, like I mean, if you guys see Penta, if you want to know where Penta got a little bit of the sauce from, I'm not gonna say everything, but a little bit of the sauce, you go
That's a
back and
fair
watch you
comparison.
some
Yeah.
AAA. Like a
That's a
little bit of
fair.
La,
That's
yeah,
that's a fair comparison.
yeah. Like at least from like the strut, because that's what I think of every time I see it in a way. Like Laparque was basically like the Michael Jackson of Mexico. Like that's basically the closest probably that I could think of more or less. But
Hmm.
that's from me. And then guess we can give a little bit of rapid fire stuff, a little bit more information. Probably like first show or like memory that you could like pull from like the mind.
Probably. I do remember watching Flair and Steamboat in 1989. In 1989, that, like I said, some people might still consider the best pure wrestling match ever. I'm not sure I would say that today, but it's definitely up there. But like memory wise, like in total, WrestleMania 3,
Hmm.
because everybody because oddly enough, it was in Detroit.
Hey, that's one of the very first
Um,
ones too.
yeah, they it was before they were like really inflating crowd numbers. Like they legit had that crowd. It
Yeah,
may not have been exactly 93,000, but it was about that.
a
Like it
sizable
was
amount.
legit. I remember like everybody coming out. Like they had the little motorized mini rings that everybody would come out in.
Oh
That
yeah,
brought them to the ring as
little
opposed to just
carts.
walking out. Yep, that was peak. And then obviously the slam heard around the world. Hogan slamming Andre to win the title, and that
Yeah.
place the Rumble. I can imagine if they measured like the noise in decibels then, it would have been up there with like the biggest pops you'd ever hear, especially when he slammed him. Holy crap!
Yeah. At that
That place
time, like I said, no one had done it.
that,
So
that was nutty. Well,
man.
technically, actually, Andre had been slammed, just not on TV, not live. He
Oh,
had
so
been.
like in dark matches, he's been slammed.
Well, like a house show or like a different event, like a different company or whatever. He had been slammed,
Oh, I think it was in Japan. I think in Japan he had been slammed by a few
but
people.
like Hogan did it. No,
Yeah.
but that place was like nutty for that, nutty,
Yeah.
and it was honestly a lot of people thought like Hogan wouldn't do it or Hogan wouldn't even win. Although
Yeah.
it's Hulk Hogan. At that was like getting towards the peak of Hulk Hogan never lost.
Oh
So
yeah. The beginning of Hulkamania.
yeah,
Yeah. Uh. Yeah. I probably have to say. Yeah. I think it was like TNA, which is weird because I remember like randomly like I would just I think I like got up at one point in the night and I think my TV was
like
off.
like like
Yeah.
TNA TV or like TNA when they
It was
were
like
like running like at the beginning when they were running like the Nashville Fairgrounds.
oh no, not that. I kind of wish it was that time, but it was like when they started doing like the Impact Zone. They had like the
So when they weren't doing like the weekly thing at the beginning.
yeah, like when they had like the two tunnels on the end. I think it was like kind of like how AEW does it now, where it's like they had one for the heels and one for the faces.
Hmm.
Like that first stick, like the eight was it 6-sided or yeah 6-sided, I think yeah. But yeah, I remember like just randomly like going into like my sister's room, and their TV was the channel was on Spike, and it was like just the complete rundown of one of Christian's like first major feuds. This might have been before or after he became champion, but he was feuding with Rhino. and I was like, wow, like this is like interesting in a way. So I sat there and I watched it, but at least knowing revisionist history, Christian is very much underrated. For, at least from seeing his TNA run, he was very much underutilized by the Fed.
I
I
mean,
think.
even at his age now, the way he wrestles, it proves how criminally underrated he
Oh yeah,
really
yeah.
was.
'Cause, like now, I feel like more or less like people are starting to appreciate him more because I mean, he's doing some of his best work currently in AEW.
He's just as arguably. I don't want to get into like a big debate,
Right.
but obviously because him and Edge partnered up for years, and then they went solo, and Edge sort of got the push and the multiple time
Yeah.
champion and all that, and obviously now they're together in AEW. I would argue Christian's actually a better wrestler than he is.
Oh, for sure. Like, I feel like most people would kind of understand that like Edge's character work is what made him stand out from Christian because Edge was able to play. He was able to play like the cool young baby face. He was able to play the psychotic heel. He was able to play the douchebag. He was
I
able to
think that's
play the sinister
probably
guy.
why, because I think Christian on the mic is underrated too. I think at
Yeah.
that particular point, Edge was definitely better on the stick.
Yeah. At that time, Edge had the slight advantage of being like better from a fan perspective to like gravitate towards.
But also, Christian wasn't really given the chance to really let loose either.
Yeah. Like when they started to, it was like by the time he started to leave when he went to SmackDown, and I think mid 07 maybe or like it's like 06 07 ish, like somewhere around
Plus,
that.
you got to remember, if you didn't have like a huge at the time, you got to
Yeah.
remember if you didn't have like a huge personality, like character wise, that like was over. The old administration always loved like
Yeah.
more
Larger
jacked
than life
guys,
type of characters.
and Christian was just never that.
Yeah.
He
But I
wasn't a big
mean,
guy.
yeah, it's like the Un-Americans, his tag team with Jericho was good. Um
Yes.
him and Tomko, which basically kind of like started the Christian Coalition before the Christian Coalition was a thing. I didn't find that out until years later that Tomko was even in WWE. So like that in
Oh, I
itself, I
remember that.
mean, yeah, like that in itself is like to know that he foreshadowed, him and Tomko, and eventually, obviously AJ Styles. Like for that to be my first
That was
memory, I mean, that's a good
Yeah, that
memory to
was around the
start.
same. That was around the same time like Cena was like nuclear hot.
Yeah, it was like if anything, if people can honestly say like at that time, Christian was the MVP before Kurt got there, and then once Kurt got there, it's kind of like they were almost like neck and neck. Like that 06 07 period. Well, maybe till like to maybe 2008 a little bit, but like that period was like crazy for TNA.
Oh, shit, I was gonna say
Insanity.
Christian was with Tonko what 05?
Yeah, I think 2005 is when it started.
05, because when Cena like was like nuclear hot babyface, but still like kind of the doctor of thugonomics, and it just won the title and was moved to Raw. Christian and Tonko are still a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
Not
think
a good
around
video.
then Christian actually got a title shot
I think he got like two. Might not
on
might not have
Cena.
been might not have been major, but like I remember he fought Cena, and then he got traded, and I think he had like a U.S. title feud with like him. Was it him, Booker T, and who else was in it? Who else was in that? I just watched this. It was like him, Booker T, and somebody else, and they had like a little like a feud of sorts. I can't remember who the third one is, but it's probably something in my
He
mind.
wasn't. I remember when Batista was moved because they moved Cena. I think that was 2000. That was 2005.
Yeah, actually, it might have been that.
When they had the match to crown a new quote unquote champion on SmackDown before, obviously, you know, surprise surprise, they got Batista. Christian was in
Oh
that
yeah,
match.
oh yeah. It was
He was also
JBL. Yeah,
pinned.
it was
JBL
JBL,
pinned him last.
Christian, yeah, and Booker. That's who it was. Because I think that was like the new, yeah, that was the new regime,
No,
and then it was
I
like,
think there was four. I think it was like a four-way elimination match, and then Christian,
was Eddie in it?
it might have been. It might have been Eddie was the fourth, and because JBL pinned Christian
Yeah.
last to supposedly be the new champion, and then obviously Batista showed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very, very crazy. Um, I guess we, this one do all time and modern. Favorite male and or female, like if you want to do like a specific, whichever one.
Um, all time. Wow.
This could be a deep,
All time.
not a deep cut, but
All time. All time. I'm gonna probably go ahead and all time favorite. I'm gonna Sting.
hey, it's Sting.
Sting. Even before like the Crow, where he
Oh,
was like
Surfer Sting.
godlike. Oh yeah, Sting for sure. Sting's my favorite. Sting's my favorite. I'm not saying Sting is the greatest of all time. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying he's the GOAT. He's my favorite all time. I will still now go back and watch. I can watch anything Sting right now
Yeah.
and enjoy it. But female, all time female. Ooh. Um,
This could be interesting too. 'Cause there's a lot of female wrestlers historically that have been like looked at fondly.
all time female. Probably Lita.
Hmm. That's good. That's good.
Lita had the look. She had the personality. You know,
She could be heel or face.
arguably, probably the greatest right up to now, the greatest female feud of all time is Lita and Trish. Because you
Oh
can
yeah.
argue that they really, the modern era of what women's professional wrestling is, they pioneered it. Those two.
Yeah. When they main evented too, they were the first main event
Sure.
for women.
The title match, and they killed it. They had a
Yeah.
banger. Mind you, for that time, Lita and Trish had an absolute banger.
Something crazy.
But current, wow. Current Punk.
Valid.
Current female. Wow. Um, Tony Storm.
Timeless.
Tony
The
Storm
timeless
is.
one.
She does not get the credit she deserves. Tony Storm is really good.
Oh yeah.
If you had asked me that, if like a year ago, if you had asked me who my current favorite female wrestler is, I probably would have said Thunder Rosa.
Hmm.
But Tony Storm probably is my favorite current. I'm not saying she's the best. Like I said, let's not get it twisted. We're not saying who's the best. It's like who's the favorite.
Yeah.
Tony Storm is my favorite right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. Her rebranding has been like really, really fun to see.
Oh, she's great.
Like from the rocker to this, it's interesting for sure.
She's so good.
Yeah.
Favorite, but not best.
Yeah.
Favorite.
Oh man. Well, I think I've been saying this for years. As far as like all time, my favorite male wrestler has always been Tajiri. Um,
Really?
yeah, I don't know. I really can't explain why it's Tajiri, but whenever I like really think about like from a character perspective, I feel like he's like almost everything that a wrestler kind of would like mold themselves to be. Like he could be like when he was a heel, he was very devious. You know, he had Jimmy Wang Yang in his stable, which I mean that in itself is remarkable. Like when he was a Keo.
He was definitely the first. I think he was probably the first to make like. I mean, you could argue, I suppose, but he's probably the first to make like um that style of wrestling
Oh yeah, like the hard
like
hitting, like
like
strong
fun,
style. Yeah,
fun and over with American audiences.
yeah, like
Yeah.
because like for as much as like for as hard as he could kick and everything like that, he's very technically sound. she still had ways to make people laugh, and I feel like that was something that was like very, very underrated about his character. But it's
Yeah,
like
because
even then, you know what?
you had a lot of you had a lot of American wrestlers who did a lot of wrestling in Japan and had a bit of a Japanese style, but like Tajiri was like the one who like used the
Yeah,
style and like got it over
yeah, like you could
on
tell how
TV.
refined it was. Like it was just like, then even like going to like watch like later stuff. I think he still wrestles today. Like the dude is just really like one of those guys that always stood out to me. Plus, I always pay attention to like the mid card guys, like the like
Yeah, low key shout out Kai and Tai.
oh yeah, like Takumi Chinoku, Funaki. I think
Oh
Dick To.
God,
I think
they were so much better than
yeah,
they were presented on TV. They
yeah,
were so good.
yeah. I think wasn't Dick Togo in the original group, or am I tweaking? It might
I
not have been
actually don't.
Dick Togo, but it was. I remember it was three of them, and I can't for the life remember the third one.
I don't honestly. I don't remember honestly.
Yeah, but like yeah, it's like just realistically, like I always like kind of the more underrated or like you said earlier, like deep cuts. Where it's like if you was really there, like if you were there, you knew like who some of these guys are. And
Yeah.
female, hmm, this is a tough one to be honest. No, I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm just gonna go Trish. Trish mainly because I have fond memories of Trish, kind of similar to like as far as like the pioneering aspect and really, I feel like her growth was just like very much more different than Lita's. Cause I feel like Lita was still able in the early stages when she was managing. She was able to like wrestle and show off that she could like really do flips and stuff.
Right.
Trish basically went from eye candy to one of the greatest female wrestlers of her time frame, which
Yeah.
is
She
crazy to
basically
think
went from
about.
like she went from being like a married woman making out with like half the roster on TV, including disgustingly Vince McMahon,
Yeah, including Vince.
to actually like putting in the work
Yeah,
to learn to become one of the greats
yeah, one of
of
them
all time.
ones.
Yeah,
But like
that was cool.
that character arc is crazy, and it was unheard of at that time because like of course they were wrestling back then, but none of them really like outside of maybe her and Michelle McCool, because Michelle McCool had a crazy turnover too, as far as like when she first started to like, but you always knew she kind of
That's
had
fair.
something.
That's fair.
But like yeah,
Yeah.
like back then like from eye candy, even Candice Michelle, actually there's probably a couple like Candice Michelle had a good turnaround too. The later she got in her career, but I'd probably say Trish from me all the time. As far as current, ugh, there's a lot.
Wait, yeah. Let's remember favorite, not best.
Yeah,
Favorite.
yeah. As far as like right now, hmm, I
And I
probably
don't want
say
to hear anybody say we don't pay attention to AEW because otherwise I wouldn't have said Tony Storm. So it's not
yeah,
like we don't know anything about AEW.
yeah. If anything,
We
it's
don't pay
like
attention.
yeah, we're over there. We're over there. Um, it's like tough. It's between like Carrion Cross, and probably Swerve. If I had to really assume, if I had to really like take a guess, because I mean like I've liked Carrion since like 2020, like when he was doing like when he was bald, stuff like that. I feel like he's always been
Yeah.
underrated. And then Swerve, I mean, obviously, that's not but never mind. I'm gonna take Swerve out. Oral Mensa. I'm going with another one that's kind of out the realm. Oral Mensa. I've been watching Evolve the past couple of weeks. I didn't know he was this raw. So it's like as of now, Oral Mensa is like phenomenal. Like if you guys haven't seen Oral Mensa, like some NXT work or like some Evolve, because it's on Tubi, so pretty much everybody should be able to watch it.
True.
Oral Mensa is worth the watch. Plus, Metaphor just got split up, so he's probably gonna get like a bigger push in the future. That's a gotta watch. So that it's between those two, if I had to say right now.
Interesting.
And then of course female wrestler. I'm just gonna y'all if y'all know. We got I'm gonna go EO because EO is just like head and shoulders to me one of my favorites. Like I was going to one of the greatest, but we weren't talking about that. Uh, like just her ability in the ring is like top tier.
True.
she's finally getting like a good run without all the extra theatrics. Like since because like the last good run she had was like NXT up until now. Because Damage Control they were kind of cheating a little bit, but Io is definitely one of like my
And
favorites.
think about it. And think about it. Like they brought Stephanie Vaquer to Raw to showcase herself and who they put her in the ring with.
Io.
Exactly.
Phew. Even like NXT like this past week, which I have to go rewatch. But I mean, she tag team with Jordan Grace. Like
Yeah.
that's like that. Though like certain things, it's like bro, like they're like the people that they brought in are on her level, or more or less like akin to her level as far as like skill wise. So for her to be like one of them ones, like I feel like she's never really had like a bad match to me. Like it's just like for her to be like one of
A
the favorites,
bad
I gotta go to
match,
look at her.
no.
Yeah.
A bad match, no. It's just there have been
Yeah, but
it
some
happens
some slip
sometimes.
ups.
Like
Yeah.
they just don't get. Yeah, there's a occasional slip up, but it's also like you have to kind of quantify like a bad match as like an actual match, not where like they sadly get like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I don't even call it a match when they get 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right. Like if it's like not enough time to like
You
really
can't
make it
do much.
happen.
Yeah, you can't do much.
Yeah. But yeah, that's probably what I have to go with more or less for my picks.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, what about the? Let's do the goats.
So you said like Mount Rushmore or like just like goats overall?
No, just goat, male and female goat. The
Mm.
actual wrestler, actual. You can say whoever you want, but
Actual
I'm
like
kind of being like more like who is the goat. I'm using my pick is actual like total package, but I'm leaning more towards actual wrestling. When I
yeah.
give my answer, who to you is the greatest wrestler ever?
Um this might be a little bit
Male
of a
and female.
shocker. Yeah, it might be a little bit of a shocker. From the male
Uh-huh.
perspective, I didn't really notice this until like as of recently when I kind of go back and watch a little bit more of like his older stuff. Triple H arguably could be the GOAT. As
Wow.
like as far as like granted, I mean, Shane Douglas kind of gave him a slight blueprint. A slight blueprint. But like the game, the Reign of Terror for as crazy as it was, like to have the mic work to open Raw every week damn near for 40 minutes, that can't go understated. And then like
Uh-huh.
his selling was underrated. Like his selling is like, I ain't gonna say it's like, picturesque, but he really did sell like, like jelly legs and like
Yeah.
the classic spot where like he would come like when you come off the ropes and like the 2 feet are up, like he would kind of set he had like giant man selling, but he was like an average sized human being. Like the whole like wobble, like is he
Well, for a
falling?
time. I mean, after his quad injury, that man was like yoked. But
Oh yeah, yeah, he was definitely moving a little bit different. But and even then like when I started like really like seeing him like 2010, 2009, the stuff with Orton
I
was
mean,
like was crazy.
yeah, I can't really hate on your answer. I mean, he wouldn't be in the position he's today, other than besides being who his wife is.
Right.
If he, yeah, if he
He
wasn't
didn't have an
great,
eye for something. Like he had to have an eye for something to be like booking and signing people. So and women. Oh, I might have to go outside the company for this one. At least the traditional company. Um. Hmm. Actually, I probably won't. Um. As far as everything as a whole, damn. That's what kind of gets tricky. Is like we say total package because women is like I feel like if I wanted to go off like pure graps, I know who I'd pick. But if I'm going off of like greatest of all time, ring and some mic work, hmm. I'm pretty sure the safe answer probably would be Trish. As far as she's the closest I can get to, because like honestly, like if I'm thinking pure wrestling, I'm probably going Io. Maybe even like maybe outside of the box, I might go like Miyu Yamashita. Like I would
Ooh,
go.
that's a good.
Yeah, I would go with a Japanese wrestler if I was thinking of like pure wrestling, but Mike included, Trish is probably like the closest as far as like she had a really good style and her character work, like whether she was heel or face, was very very top tier. So I
Well,
go Trish as the goat for
okay.
women's
Well,
wrestling.
my goat is not Ric Flair. I probably
Not
spoiled
right.
that already.
Yeah,
No, the 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 goat is Shawn Michaels.
that is also that's also a fair one because Shawn was the total
I mean,
package.
because you talk about selling flawless. Mic
Right.
work before his back injury, when he was like, I know he was like drinking and the drugs and all that
Yeah.
and the party and all that, but
Before he
like
found
the
God.
edgier Shawn Michaels, and then coming back, so he still had edge to him, but still phenomenal on the mic. One of probably the greatest in-ring storyteller ever,
Yeah.
even better than Flair, I think. And it's just like the body of work, like you could not, no matter who he wrestled, like he made everybody look like a star in the ring because he was just that good
Yeah.
with everybody, and like literally like every major match you can think of that Shawn Michaels was in, he was money. The emotional storytelling, the in-ring storytelling, the actual moves, the fluidity, the like the crowd involvement, the emotional, uh, the emotional bond he could have with the crowd, like just getting
Yeah.
everybody involved. There was no one better, just to me.
Yeah.
And then just imagine if he had without the back injury.
Oh, if he had more time, good lord.
I mean, you could
That man probably would have been the greatest. Like as far as like
argue,
towards like unanimous.
you could even argue that like after the back injury, when he came back after the back injury for what was it, like a decade,
Yeah, because he was
decade
there up
plus.
until like what 2011, 20 yeah 2011 I think.
So it was like, you know, yeah, he was back for probably.
Because I think he came back in
I
what
think he was back longer than
2004.
that.
He came back in like 2005 to like wrestle, right?
Nah, it was before that.
Oh, 2004.
Oh, him and
Oh yeah, him
Triple H.
yeah
That
him and
was
Triple H was 04, yeah.
it was
Because that was
before that.
yeah,
I think that
yeah.
was like 02.
What you talking about when he
Right, it
like
was like
came back and like hit
02.
him with the car?
I think he was like 02. Yeah,
It might have been, yeah.
but
I
so he
I
was
know he retired at like 11, I think, or kind of retired
But
at
like
11.
that decade or so, you could argue like that decade after he came back from the back injury still makes him the goat. Even
Yeah,
if you take away the pre, that still makes him the goat because that was just absurd.
yeah. And all his
Shawn
matches were
Michaels,
so yeah.
Shawn Michaels is to me is the greatest wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rick. Ric Flair is always going to be Ric Flair, but just like put it all together,
Yeah. Total
There's
plan.
no way on earth. Yeah, Shawn Michaels is the greatest. Now, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on this, but like because I see a few that are on the trajectory towards it, but like I want to wait till they're done. But until otherwise, if you talk about even considering the time and the time period,
Right.
just the mic work, the in ring ability, and longevity, until further notice, nobody tops Moolah.
See
Not
that.
yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Nobody tops Moolah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
She did
We'll
pioneer some
see.
stuff.
We'll see until some careers are over. But like,
Yeah. I feel like
there's no
the
way
women's race
anybody
has
today.
a lot of, a lot of suitors for it,
There's
I
no
would
way
say.
that anybody today could still be doing like could still take bumps as until. I mean, Moolah was what? When did Moolah stop wrestling? Like in her 60s? There's no shot anybody today
Yeah.
could do that. No shot.
Oh yeah,
No shot.
with the way wrestling is now for women, I don't think it would really depend.
Yeah.
But then
Until
again, I
further
mean,
notice. Until further notice, it's Moolah.
yeah, yeah, at least like
Yeah,
the latest or like the oldest probably right now is like what 50s, maybe.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe the oldest is like 50s, but
I mean, come on. Moolah and Mae Young were still taking bumps, like, and they were like what octogenarians.
all right,
I mean,
they were knocking on like 70, 60 minimum.
well, Moolah maybe, but Mae Young was way older than that. Mae Young was still
Yeah,
taking bumps in her 80s.
yeah, she was taking power bombs.
I wouldn't hate anybody who would say that, but I think Moolah until further notice. Until further notice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, this might be the debatable one that we could get some traction as far as like comments and people talking, like
yeah.
interaction. Your Mount Rushmore.
Ah.
Just Mount Rushmore. Period. It
Oh,
doesn't
just
have to be like it doesn't have to be graphs. Just your Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
oh, like me personally.
Yeah.
Shit. Let's see. Wow, I got Tajiri on that thing for one for sure. Tajiri is for sure on my Mount Rushmore.
What? Oh man, you're gonna get flamed for that, homie.
Yeah, I mean, because I realize it's like
I
obviously,
know
yeah,
I know you're younger and it's based on like when you started watching and who you connected with younger. I get it. I'm just saying if a larger bit of interaction, people you're gonna get flamed for like what? But go on.
yeah. Because like obviously, it's like in a way I realized over time when it comes to at least like certain things like that, it's hard for me to rank.
Okay,
Like, yeah,
it's all right because trust me,
yeah,
there's gonna be somebody that isn't gonna be on mine that I would imagine people are gonna be like, you're out of your fucking mind. But go ahead.
yeah. But at least like as far as like at least from like yours would probably be like still in the ballpark. Like it's kind of like how people do it with sports, where they be like, "Oh, I can't rank a certain player above them because I never seen them." There's certain wrestlers where it's like even if I did watch them, it's like there's just not I would just feel like I'm lying if I said Rick is in my Mount Rushmore. I would be lying if I said some stuff like that. If somebody probably would look at me and be like, "This man don't got Rick on his Rick Flair is not on this man's Mount Rushmore." You know what I mean? Like something like that. But actually, let me kind of let me be serious here. Let me just think. In all fairness, um, I'll probably say Randy Orton. Obviously, showing age again, but Randy Orton more or less, as far as like from a character work standpoint, probably one of the better ones that I've ever seen. Like from his growth from the youngest world champion to being like the Viper, unparalleled. Um, a little bit more controversial, but I'm gonna say JBL. One of the greater heels of all
That's
time.
fair. That's
Yeah,
true. That is
like
true.
yeah, like
That is true.
JBL was like at a time where they gave him the reins. It was like, yo, we need somebody because Triple H don't want to do Tuesdays. What's up with
That's
JBL?
that is fair. That is fair.
Yeah.
He's up there as one of the better heels ever, and he's up. He's probably, I would argue, he's at least at worst top five like greatest character
Oh yeah,
flip
yeah.
ever.
From Rough House Texan to stock
Long hair,
market. Yeah,
beard, or even before that, like the fucking ministry, and
yeah,
then like the long haired, beard drinking, like tough guy, and to what he became.
yeah. But I say, bro basically went from Stan Hansen boots to a limousine with Longhorns on the front. Like that growth
And,
is
and
crazy.
multiple time world champion, believable, and like just godly mic skills. Like
Man, but I
as a
say
heel,
like, yeah,
God.
And then plus, I ain't gonna lie, anybody that's able to get people to like adamantly like boo Orlando Jordan and the Bashams at a time where like they used to come out and no one would care. When they joined that cabinet, all of a sudden it was like Orlando Jordan for that short time period he leveled up. The Bashams were always
Yep.
good, but I mean no one just really like cared enough to boo him. To be fair, like, but I mean the Bashams they elevated, you know that's a fair trade. Um, but what was that? All right, Orton, JBL. I'm gonna put the Undertaker. The
Okay.
Undertaker for sure. Most of my memory is like that 2005, 2006 ish because I went back and watched a little bit of it. But obviously, ABA. Him and Jericho are probably up there as far as like being able to reinvent themselves depending on like the scenario, or at least
True.
making what they're good at work. So very much I put Taker. And
That's four. That's four.
that's four.
That's four.
Wait, no, what I Orton, JBL.
You said Tajiri, Orton, JBL, Taker.
Oh no, I'm taking Tajiri off. No, I was kind of trolling. I was kind of trolling.
Oh, okay.
Cause I'm like, if I'm being like completely honest here, like if it was like a Mount Rushmore favorites, like completely different story. But like if I'm being like completely honest, I'd probably say like Orton, JBL, Taker, and let's see.
Would you ha- would you say Triple H because he's your goat?
It was seen that way, but I'm going outside the box. I'm gonna go
Okay.
outside the box. I'm gonna say Kenny Omega.
Wow.
Like Kenny Omega is like as far as like obviously the best bout machine being like a nickname and a moniker. I really have like outside of like when he come back from like injuries, because right now he's kind of like trying to work his way back into like in ring shape.
Well,
There's
yeah,
not
diverticulitis killed
yeah
people. So
diverticulitis is no joke. Like it's gonna take a minute for him to work his way back into like peak shape. But bro, Kenny Omega when he's on, like whether it be like PWG, New Japan, his AEW run, his run with the Impact Championship, which got them like one of their biggest buy rates in years, just because he was on the show. Like stuff like that, you just can't, you can't ignore those things. And of course, like moveset wise, I mean, Kreutz Wrath, One Winged Angel, uh, this is the Terminator Tope over the like his move set is like so like crowd immersive, and then like like the man's is a great wrestler, phenomenal wrestler, good mic work too, obviously, just phenomenal.
okay, okay. Well,
Had to shit,
obviously,
yeah, had to
mine
shake
is
it up.
mine is different. It's certainly an age thing.
Right.
Um, Bruno.
Yeah, living legend.
Um, I mean, come on. It's Bruno.
Yeah.
Um, Flair. What else needs to be said? I mean,
Yeah. 16 times.
um, Shawn Michaels, obviously.
Right.
If he's my goat, he should be on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, fairly.
I mean, everything. I mean, those two were like everything you'd ever want a professional wrestler. Those guys were. Bruno wasn't awesome on the mic, but Bruno in the ring, like
Yeah.
longevity ring wise, he was phenomenal. And Austin.
Yeah, Austin is for sure. Austin's for sure a good one.
Because Austin was still really good and underrated before he was Stone Cold.
Oh yeah, Stunning Steve Austin.
Steve, yep. He was arguably better in the ring, like actual wrestling, before he was Stone Cold.
Oh yeah, before the I forgot what injury it was that like really made him slow down, but like bro was moving before that. Like he was moving.
The first neck injury, the first
Yeah,
neck,
like yeah.
The Owen Hart neck break. But
Yeah.
he was still a really good wrestler, but he leaned more into like telegraphing and like psychology
Yeah,
part,
like yeah, more brawling.
more into you brawling and but more storytelling. But like Stunning Steve was just a wrestler,
Yeah,
but
like
he was still the signs where they're like his work on the mic, his ring storytelling, like it was there. Just nobody knew what he was going to become, but like just like if you put all that together with his impact,
Yeah, cause I got like Stone Cold's mic work with the wrestling that he had back then probably would have been like, woo.
because like even now people go nuts for Stone Cold. Stone Cold hasn't wrestled in an actual match in what 22 years.
Oh yeah, it's been a very long time. Cause I don't really count that KO match, even though I mean it was longer than
No,
what
that wasn't a match. That
yeah, it was
wasn't a
like
wrestling match.
yeah, it was more like a
It was kind of a toned down street fight. It wasn't really a wrestling match,
yeah,
but like, but still now he hasn't wrestled in 22 years, and everybody knows who he is. And when he comes out, every place goes nuts for him.
yeah,
That's Impact. That is
that's
Impact. Everybody knows who Stone Cold Steve Austin is,
yeah, that's aura, if you will.
and that was my like. Oh my god, that era, the Attitude Era. I mean, it was really honestly. I mean, things are picking up now, where WWE is getting to the point where it's like, and I want AEW to get back there, where they can really go at it, like where we can get two wrestling promotions that are like
Two
just
top places.
scorching hot TV, where like must see, whether they're going back and forth against each other or talking shit against each other on TV or whatever it is, like the Attitude Era did. But just two, like I think they can get back there, but and WWE's getting back to a spot. Obviously, Attitude Era, they're not going to do that again.
Yeah,
But they're getting to a point where like it's still they're firing up things to like you've got to watch every show, but like it's hard to top like really like say like 95 to like 99 ish, that like 4 year period. We're talking like Sting, the NWO, Hollywood Hogan, Austin, The Rock, the rise of Triple H, all that. Like I don't think you're ever gonna find a better era of wrestling where wrestling was just peak
yeah,
than that point. You're just not, and Austin was the guy.
yeah. Or at least like in its totality, like as far as like in ring and like storytelling, that was definitely like a rare.
Even though Sting,
It's almost one of a kind.
even though Sting was my favorite, Sting was not on TV every week
Oh yeah, he's definitely an acquired,
because he was played well because he was played up as the hero that just would like appear in the rafters or occasionally like just appear and like scare off the NWO and then like ramped it up to the point. But it still made WCW much CTV because the NWO
You
was
never
like
know when he'll show
running the
up.
show. The NWO was running the show, and WCW could not compete
Yeah,
in story. And he was literally like the superhero. Sting was honestly like the first real wrestling superhero.
and he was kind of
That
like
character was
yeah, and he was kind of like not like not like a full blow. He was kind of like an anti-hero because I mean he really didn't like fit the bill presentation wise. But I mean as far as like what he stood for, like as far as like what he stood for and what he wanted to get established, bro really was a hero.
he was a hero he was like a superhero to the fans, especially when he engaged because like he was untouchable and like everybody was afraid of him.
Yeah,
But I get the like anti-hero now because like ultimately his goal was revenge and Hogan.
yeah,
But Austin was it. Like there was Austin could do no wrong.
yeah.
Honestly, he could do no wrong. And I wish they hadn't the failed heel turn kind of derailed him a little bit. And then some shitty booking near the end is probably why he stopped when he stopped. I don't think he would have
Yeah.
retired. I don't think he would have retired in '03 if it wasn't for like at the time like the booking was shitty and he still felt he was a top guy and probably was, but they were starting to get him to the point where like they wanted him to like feud with to put over other people,
Yeah.
and he still felt like he was the guy. And he probably would have gotten to the point where he would have put other people over, but and he was winding down, but he still thought he still had another probably year or two as a top guy before he started doing it, the put over other people part. And I
Yeah.
think, but if he hadn't done that, I don't know if we would be where we are now.
Oh, as
Because
far as like company wise.
him leaving, they had to start putting people over. You might not have gotten Eddie Guerrero as champ if
Oh, if they
that
didn't
had
start getting
happened.
creative.
Yeah, or Lesnar or any of that, because that was two of the things that really like made Steve sour and retire early. Is like obviously it was shitty booking. I'm not gonna say it's his fault, but that was shitty booking. Like randomly putting losing a match to Brock Lesnar on TV with no build up and no payoff. It was just like a one off. It wasn't like a feud. Vince just wanted him to wrestle Brock Lesnar randomly on Monday Night Raw and lose with no
Yeah.
payoff, no story, no nothing, and he said no to that. And then the feud with Eddie Guerrero had no story. Vince just wanted Steve to feud with Eddie Guerrero with no real story and no point.
Yeah, which would have been crazy in theory.
Just for just for Steve to have someone to feud with and to elevate Eddie, I mean that part was fine. But just to give Steve someone to feud with and not for the title, but there was no
Yeah.
story. There was no story. They were trying to work a story where like Flair was like the heel authority figure, and I think eventually like he was going to put together his own like heel faction under his banner for Austin to go through to eventually get back towards the title. It just never got there because it was just some random thing they put together with no point or ending, and it wasn't about Eddie.
Yeah.
But if that had happened, we may not. Who knows what we would have got? We might not have gotten
We probably
Eddie as a
wouldn't have got
champion.
JBL.
Yeah, or Lesnar like we know him now. We might not have gotten any of that.
Yeah. Whole different
So it was probably a good thing.
yeah.
But I was gonna say
What's in mysterious ways?
there might be a lot of people who flame me because Cena's not my Rushmore, Taker's not on my Rushmore, and more specifically, Hogan's not on my Rushmore.
Oh no, trust me. There are a lot of people that probably will be like, "Oh, these lists are trash for different reasons." I ain't gonna lie, to be honest. Like I said earlier, I kind of gave a rundown, but less. I go off of what I personally like. Of course, if I go off like the niche more or less, people are like, "Oh, well, Cena has 17. He deserves to be on your Mount Rushmore." I'm not going off of like accolades. Are probably like the last thing I really think about when it comes to wrestling because realistically, like accolades are important. Don't get me wrong, to a certain extent. But if you have accolades, but you just aren't good in ring, there's no real point in like most people don't have Jeff Jarrett on their Mount Rushmore, depending on like what specific era you're in.
Mm-mm.
Because like
Yeah,
if you're going off accolades, I mean, of course, like he went to he created TNA and he's been their world champion at least 4 times, 4 or 5
he was
times.
WCW. He was WCW champion multiple times too.
Yeah, exactly. Like if we're going off accolades, of course, people could probably make the argument, but do people really think fondly of Jeff Jarrett? Now, probably not. Back then, they probably thought, yeah, he's underrated. And then
And
TNA happened.
I get WWE calls John Cena their
The
goat
GOAT,
just
yeah.
because of his longevity and the titles won. And I would not argue with anybody who has Cena who would put Cena on their Mount Rushmore
Exactly.
or a Triple H or an Undertaker. Like I get it, or
Yeah.
Hogan. I get it. I'm not. You're not wrong. Just mine is who I think
Yeah,
are
vastly different.
the four most impactful.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, this is our perspective, right? Your Mount
Yep.
Rushmore can be way different than ours, and we would want it to be
And
that way.
probably will be.
Yeah, we would want it to be that way because I mean that's what makes us us and what makes you you. Like that that's basically the gist of it. Like even if like some people might not think OTG was a good wrestler, that's up to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, that I'm not gonna go to bat for Yoshihiro. Like, I mean, if he he is what he is, you know, like
I would be willing to bet there's probably a good majority that would probably tell you, um, Hogan, Flair, um, Rock or Austin, one of those two, um, and Cena would be their Mount Rushmore. I would be willing to bet a lot of people. That's a lot of people's.
oh yeah, a lot of people would probably
Probably,
go off of that.
probably.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
Or
granted,
take. Yeah.
yeah, and granted, I mean, like it would be valid, but it is like a very like oversaturated comp because I mean, I feel like Mount Rushmore's. I mean, granted, there are like probably some criteria that people want to fit, but at the end of the day, it's like if you don't enjoy these wrestlers, it's hard to just put them on your Mount Rushmore just for the sake of putting them there. Like if I don't like if I genuinely just didn't like them, or if we're going off the criteria of like, oh, if we're going off just pure accolades, of course I'm gonna put people I don't like because it's based off their accolades. But if we're
Well,
going off
yeah,
of
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not besmirching like Hogan's impact on wrestling, but
yeah, same with Rick
I was
to an
never the
extent.
biggest Hulk. I was never the biggest Hulk Hogan fan. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have his autograph because he's. I'm not going to say he didn't have an impact, and I love John Cena.
Yeah,
I've loved John Cena for 20 plus years. I'm not. I can't. I won't argue that either. But
yeah.
like,
I had a
is he
spinner belt.
top four? But like, to me, is he top four ever? No,
Probably not. Yeah. So
no, no. Because you could argue. You could argue Triple H
yeah,
is
but say like
one.
Hunter, shit, Michaels. Michaels is like a lot. Michaels is
Michaels is
great.
on mine, but like,
Yeah.
just saying.
Overall, Michaels has a shout. So a lot of people you could probably throw in.
People would want The Rock, Taker. Some people could say Sting. Sting had longevity too. I mean,
Yeah, a lot of different ways to take that.
sure.
Yeah. But now that I think about it, we have done. I go like we've given you guys like we didn't give you guys an hour. This is basically a podcast. We're back. It's like type shit. But I mean, hey, the goal was for you guys to find out a little bit of information about us, and I mean, hey, you got some good conversation out of it. 2 for 1,
Yep.
2 for 1. But I think we're gonna wrap it up. Not sure when this will go out. It might go up tonight, to be honest. I think I can find a way to make that work. If it doesn't come out tonight, then I mean, obviously early Friday. We'll be live tomorrow anyway. So I mean,
Yep.
whichever way you wanna roll the dice on it. Appreciate everybody that watches this video. And once again, like the video if you enjoyed it. Like we said, 10 combined likes and comments on this video, or just 10 likes. Whichever one hits. You know, we'll take either one of them. Social medias are on the screen. Yeah, social medias are on the screen. We'll see you guys Friday. G, any closing remarks before we sign off?
No, this was actually fun. I hope everybody listens all the way through, or most of the way through, or maybe we can, description like for certain parts.
Yeah,
Maybe
probably might timestamp it just for time's sake at
Yeah,
some point.
you want to get to know us more or hear our opinions, our riffs about wrestling, our goats, our Mount Rushmores, whatever it is, and you want to flame us, you want to tell us we're right, you want to tell us what your list is, by all means,
Yeah,
let's hear it. That's what we're
yeah,
here for, and you know, good to
yeah,
get to know us a little more, make us more personable, and you know,
yeah. Just so that you know, like when we say the whole moniker of just two dudes that watch wrestling, we weren't lying. Just so you guys can get the gist of it.
and the decades of you know,
Yeah,
quote unquote experience. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yep.
and also comment down below, like if you like these type of videos, because obviously we could probably do more sit downs. Obviously, it's not like we're not
Sure.
able to do these things. But if you want to do, if you guys want to see more sit downs, comment down below like what things you might want to see us talk about in the future, like other
And we do
subtopics.
have and we have ideas.
Yeah, definitely working on a lot of ideas too.
Yep,
So, you know, if there's anything you guys want to like throw our way, you can comment them or shoot, you can hit us up on Twitter. You know,
sure.
like I said, down below on this side and on the opposite side of me as well for G. Hope you
Yep.
guys have a good rest of your morning, evening, night, afternoon, whenever you guys see this. And we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.